Oh yes, Godzilla vs. Hedorah, my favorite Godzilla movie and Godzilla villain, as directed by my favorite Godzilla movie director, Daniel Donnet.
ShinRobjira.
Today we're going to be talking about the Bandai movie monster series Hedorah. Hedorah is sporting its first brand new mold from Bandai since 2007, and honestly, at first glance, I gotta say, I'm very much impressed. But does it stack up to the original? Watch on and find out. Yes, for everybody who does not know, this is a brand spanking new mold from Bandai. New paint, new everything. So let's just get started talking about the news. Actually, I lied. We're going to be talking about the tag, which really isn't all that new, as we've seen this tag design before with retro color blue Hedorah and burning Hedorah. But it's nice to see it with some new colors and a fundament. Oh, Bandai, why? Anyway, here are the contents. Here is the front yet again, with an image we've seen before, but I love that green so very much. Same for the back of the tag, which says Godzilla vs. Hedorah and Movie Monster Series. Now it's time to close the window because we're letting all that stank out. So right up front, I'm really liking what this figure's showing off here. The biggest improvement, I'd say, is the lack there of a hunchback, a more upright position, and the fact that this was molded in a very basic gray vinyl, not black this time. Like with the original Movie Monster Series Hedorah, Hedorah was molded in black vinyl, and the metallic gray did look good in terms of a clashing effect, but I just genuinely feel this looks a lot better. Let's take a closer look. Up first, I would like to take a look at these eyes, because as you can see, the eyes do have details on them for the iris and the pupils and all that good stuff. Not the cleanest of applications, but still very, very good. I'm also just loving the detail around Hedorah's eyes as well. And we got a little bit of a red spooch right there, but it really doesn't detract from this amazing garbage bag looking detail. Really digging this copper red that's on both sides of Hedorah's neck or torso area. It's a little on the bright side, but I really do enjoy it a lot more than the smudged metallic red lipstick that OG Hedorah had. Though I will say OG Hedorah had it applied a little bit more subtly. I am absolutely loving all the magnificent details on Hedorah's arms that are being highlighted by this whimsical silver. Bandai did quite the magnificent job with this mold, and this metallic silver, or just silver, really just helps it breathe. Like, it's honestly kind of disturbing, because just the way that I'm looking at it, it almost looks like Hedorah might have a skeletal structure, which I know it really doesn't. It's honestly kind of Giger-esque, just the way that this figure holds its stance. And as we can see here, when it comes to unpainted vinyl, it really doesn't have an issue in just looking good. And I really gotta say, I love the extra droopage that Bandai added, especially towards Hedorah's armpits over here. Yes, this and many other things was present on the original Hedorah, but this just looks so good. Looking at the top of Hedorah's head, we get more of that metallic yellow, and this is where I have to present one of my slight nitpicks here. There are certain parts on this figure that, when compared to the 2007 release, feel a little bit more machine painted than the original. Take the top of 2007 Hedorah's head. It follows the crackling atop, and it just kind of leaks everywhere, and it feels, well, unnatural, but more natural than what we're seeing on the new figure. I'm not saying this looks bad to any extent, as it does follow the crackling on top of Hedorah's head, but just in the way that it was painted on, it almost feels a little on the off side, a little bit too unnatural, even though what we're looking at is a living, breathing skid mark. Now, I know you see it peeking through, so I might as well just discuss it right now. Hedorah does in fact have the yellow under its arms with this release, the major difference being that this time, it's metallic. Metallic and rather messily applied in some areas, but still lovely overall. And with the clashing of this metallic paint, we can see a little bit more detail peeking through on the bottoms of the arms and even on the, fingers? Does Hedorah have fingers or tentacles? Are they fingers or are they drips? I don't know. For the most part, though, when it comes to the undersides of the arms, I really couldn't be any more impressed. It's just a wee bit sloppy. But given Hedorah's nature, that kinda does make sense. It is the absolute physical manifestation of pollution, so I don't think pollution would be outfitted
neatly.
Speaking of which, let's take a look at the back.
Like the rest of the mold, the back has been given somewhat of a makeover.
And as you can see, there's a bit of paint rub off over here.
That's actually somewhat consistent with a lot of copies of this figure that I've been seeing. So if you do get some rub off on the back, don't be surprised. But if you don't, hey, lucky you. And I really do just love that the outer ring of the back over here is just outlined with this metallic, almost red. Yeah, I don't want to say this is red. I would say more of a rust orange. But my lack of color name knowledge can be put to rest because it looks awesome. This is the only thing I'm somewhat bummed about, as this is something the 2007 version did a little bit better. And yes, as you can see, there is a big ol' seam on Hedorah's back over here, but as well, this version of Hedorah is rather thick.
Oh yeah, Sludge Mommy got the curves.
I don't want to fuck this thing. Back to the back, I love this metallic yellow on Hedorah's back. Same that is on its head and on the underside of its arms, and the detail is sublime. Only now noticing that these aren't painted silver. If it ain't the tip of the tail, I guess it's gotta be something. But overall, I really do love the new sack on Hedorah's back. The new added-in details are magnificent, and I do very much appreciate the color scheme that they went with. Moving on to Hedorah's tail, beautiful details, silver paint until about the midway tip point. Yeah, the tip of the tail isn't metallic silver like the rest of the tail is, but somehow, some way, I'm not bothered by this. No, it's not new figure goggles, nor is it me turning a blind eye to the fact it's mainly just the detail. Something about this just doesn't bother me like a fully unpainted tail usually does. Let me put it to you this way. I'd rather have something like this on a creature like Hedorah than not have a tail fully painted to the tip with dorsal fins that should just always be painted. I'm going to give paint and detail 2 solid stars. Despite the somewhat machine-painted feel that we get on the top of Hedorah's head and a little bit on the back, I still have a lot of love for what they're doing with this figure. Now let's move on to articulation. Like every Hedorah figure ever, there's going to be nothing in the head, nothing at the legs, nothing at the tail. Speaking of which, there will be detail on the tail, and there is no seam on the tail except for the one that connects it to the back. You're just going to get standard rotation at the arms, which honestly, this is the easiest it's been turning one of Hedorah's arms ever. And you're going to get it at both sides, where this arm is going to give you the most trouble because of this. So you kind of have to bend out, and then bend out again, and then twist it all around, and there we are. I've had my original Bandai Movie Monster Series Hedorah figure since like 2015, and I've been getting nothing but that mold for a very long time, and I really wasn't expecting anything but the arm, so Articulation's going to get a solid star. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Now it is time for an extra special comparison portion. We are going to be comparing 2022 Hedorah to the 2007 Hedorah fully. Now, right off the bat, no new figure goggles applied. I really do love that the base vinyl is a gray instead of a black. Yet again, it's the clashing of the metallic silvers on the base colors that the vinyl was molded in that really speaks a lot of magnificent justice. I just personally feel the new one looks better in that regard. When it comes to the metallic reds that are strewn about on the original Hedorah, it's a little bit more on the smoky and faded side, whereas here it's definitely a lot more brighter and looks a little bit more unnatural, I should say. Here on the original 2007 version of Movie Monster Series Hedorah, we get a lot less of it, and it's a little more subtle, like I said earlier. Here it's just Hedorah flaunting that color very, very loudly, but again, I really don't mind the heavy application of this color. Earlier, I praised the fact that there were sculpted in irises and pupils on Hedorah's eyes over here. Well, if you look nice and close at the 2007 version over here, it's got the exact same thing. And when talking about the eyes, another thing that I prefer on this figure as compared to the 2007 version is simply the detail around the eyes. This looks so much nicer and so much cleaner. Don't get me wrong, this still looks good, but it feels a lot less bulbous. Here they're nice and puffy and weird looking. Here they're kinda looking like tires. Another thing that I'm really enjoying about the 2022 version of Hedorah is just the posture.
The 2007 version is a little bit more hunched over and leaning forward, while this gal over here is just standing straight up. Just look at that. That added height helps so very much. And since we're looking at this side view, I guess we can look at the backs of these figures. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you all, I love the sculpt for the sack on the 2021 version, but the 2007 version definitely kills it when it comes to paint application. We've got silver, we've got a faded red and yellow, and that faded red and yellow goes from the back over here, down to the base of the tail, and even onto the sides and tops of the tail. As you can see, this looks a little bit more diseased and polluted, while this is mainly just silver. And even though I prefer this over this, I still like this too. And as you can see, the tips of both of these figures' tails really didn't receive any paint ever. Although it does look like there's a faint little splooch of metallic red over here at the tip. Can you see it, or is it just me? I think these photography lights might be baking my brain again. Overall, I'm having a really hard time saying which one I like better. They both do and present things that I really, really like. So I guess I'll just say, give me this version of Hedorah with this version's paint job, and I'm Gucci. Now, I'm Shin Bandai boy ShinRobjira. I simp for the Bandai Movie Monster series and their vinyl Godzilla figures, so I can't just stop at a comparison with Movie Monster series Hedorah or Hedorah at all. I've at least got to do a quick little comparison with my Bandai The Godzilla Collection Hedorah. One of the first things that surprised me about 2022 Hedorah is that it's only a little bit shorter than the Godzilla Collection Hedorah. Bandai, you looking to go from 6.3 to 6.7 inches in height? That would be nice. As if that point number integer really friggin' matters. Now when it comes to the paint adorning these little skid marks, it's very hit and miss. I am very much liking the yellow and the reds on Hedorah's face, but, you know, if we're gonna be a stickler for a tickler here, that's not exactly accurate, but I enjoy it anyway. Actually, this is rather close, but anyway, the new figure. I do feel we're missing a lot of that copperish orange, especially on the top of the head, and maybe a little bit more trickling down to the torso area, but for the most part, I would call this a pretty faithful adaptation of the Showa Hedorah design, because as you can see here, in comparison to the suit, both of them are a lot more muted as everything drips downward, so good on you, Bandai. But when it comes to everything else about the two figures, I will still take the base color of the figure being gray over black. And despite the Godzilla Collection Hedorah's colors being rather dull on the back, I still kind of do prefer it. Plus, the paint on the top of Godzilla Collection Hedorah's head is just a lot cooler than this. Now, it's not one-to-one perfect, but I had to do this. Here is new Hedorah with old 68 Goji, and damn, they look great together. Now, as I said, it's not one-to-one, but it's definitely a lot better than this. Yeah, this just doesn't look right. Just to get this out there, reviews coming soon. Again, it's not one-to-one, but it's close enough. And I'm just tossing this out there, Bandai. I know it's really got no hope in ever happening, but it would be great if you could release a version of this 68 figure with half of his eye closed. Because as we all know, Hedorah gave Godzilla the good old Polynesian spa. And I think that would just look really cool sitting next to my Movie Monster series Hedorah. Again, likely never going to happen, just a suggestion. And I know this isn't exactly the correct design to have in footage with Hedorah, but I think old 74 Goji and the new Hedorah look pretty great together too. How long do you think it'll take for Bandai to reissue this guy? Either forever or never, if you ask me. But who knows? Size comparison time. Small, medium, large, related stuff. A loving new offering from Bandai with more than enough to show for it. New size, new detail, new paint, a closer to in-scale representation. This Hedorah has tons to offer and is an absolute must for fans and even someone with no Hedorah in their collection. 3 solid stars for 2022 Hedorah. It's a great figure, and like I just said, if you don't have a Hedorah figure, this is definitely a better way to go than to pay whatever 2007 2007 Hedorah is going for nowadays. Or maybe it's extremely cheap and you can just get that, who knows? That's about enough out of me. Thank you all for watching and making it to this particular part in the video. To which I am going to say I apologize if anybody's waiting for specific videos from me. The entirety of March's haul got shipped out on me, and now I am kind of prepping for everything that's coming in. So I'm sorry. The month of March is going to have a little bit of a delay. Oh no. No, 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 no.
Oh, yes! Finally.
Oh, Lord, help me.